I'd like to also welcome everyone today, not only those of you who are here with us, but those of you who are watching online across Canada. Now, I'm very happy to be back with you, but I'm particularly glad that you're here, because many of you may remember that it was around the end of 2018 that they announced that all CPAs have to have 4 hours of professional development courses in ethics every 3 years. And so when I saw that, I thought, well, maybe I should try and write a course about ethics to fill that need. So I got thinking about it, and I thought, well, now what do you say about ethics? You know, to me, a course about ethics has 3 problems. The first is that, I think for most of us, the concept of ethics is pretty obvious. You know, you don't lie, you don't steal, you don't harm somebody else. Okay? The next problem, though, is, even though those basic ideas are pretty obvious, there are some people in society who just refuse to follow them. You can tell them till you're blue in the face, follow these rules of society, and they still won't do it. But for those of us who want to follow the rules of society, even then we have difficulty because the rules are subjective. I said, don't lie. But what about a white lie told to spare somebody's feelings? Well, it's kind of harder to make the distinction of what's right and what's wrong, isn't it? So I thought, well, if I try to write a course about that, how do I fill a bunch of hours? It's pretty difficult. So I thought, well, why don't we concentrate on the things that affect us specifically as CPAs, that the things that we have to make sure keep us out of trouble. For those of you who might be here later in the year, or those watching online who might be watching my professional engagement refresher course, I'll be talking more specifically about the types of things that get people into trouble and some of the biggest fines and penalties. I want to talk about that today, but what we want to do is make sure we avoid all those things. And that's really my goal today, is to go through this code of conduct that we have as CPAs, just so we're familiar with them, just so we don't unwittingly end up breaking the rules. Now, if you have a look at what we're going to be covering today, there's the summary of the topics. I'm not going to read through them all, but the one thing I want to say is that when we get looking at the actual CPA Code of Professional Conduct, the actual document, like many other sort of official documents, they're not set up in very logical orders. If you think about the other things we have to follow, the Income Tax Act, or the Canadian Auditing Standards, they're not set up in the way that you'd actually want to look at them. So what you'll find is when I'm going through this, all the rules in this book are numbered, but I'm not going to be always dealing with them in strict numerical order, because sometimes I'll rejig it so that things that are similar or things that relate to each other are put together. Okay? And hopefully that will help you remember these things.